sneaking in at the last possible moment, is the final game franchise to be launched on the Disk System. Puyo Puyo was actually released on the MSX and the Disk System on the same day, but it's 1991. The MSX wasn't exactly a healthy platform at that point either. Puyo Puyo was released as part of the Famicom Disk series, Famicom being short for Famicom Magazine, and they had been running game concept contests for a couple of years at this point. You might be asking yourself, why would Compile, a beloved and significant developer, enter a game concept contest? And the answer is, they didn't. For some reason, with the third contest, one of the two winners wasn't developed into a game. Compile made this quick port of their upcoming MSX game, and Famicom slotted it in. The other winner of the contest is coming, and that's one with its own odd turn. But first, Puyo Puyo. There's a little bit of odd backstory here, because Puyo Puyo didn't start out as Puyo Puyo. In the late 80s, Compile made a series of very small dungeon crawler games called Mado Monogatari. The dungeons weren't especially large, there weren't a lot of enemies, they were budget releases for a budget line. Their slime monster in those games was the Puyo Puyo, just a little jelly blob with eyes. Compile wanted a visual theme for the puzzle game they were developing, and just dropped the Puyo Puyo in. This is also why some of the early Puyo Puyo games have dungeon-themed graphics. When the puzzle game was well received, but not a big hit because it was getting released on dying platforms, Compile made an arcade version, and they packed that game with more characters from the Mado Monogatari series. The arcade version of Puyo Puyo was a smash hit. That was ported to every platform under the sun, and Compile spent the rest of the 90s making a ton of Puyo Puyo games. Compile also wound up porting the entire Mado Monogatari series to console platforms in one package, and of course they included references to the Puyo Puyo games. There's several differences between this original version of Puyo Puyo and the Puyo Puyo that you might be more familiar with. Endless mode is basically what regular Puyo Puyo would turn out to be. Jellies drop from the top of the screen in pairs, and pressing A and B will rotate them. Connect 4 of the same color, and they vanish. Nice and easy rules, and it's really obvious that you can set up chains, connect a lot more than 4. You'll find plenty of options for how to run up your score. In this version of Puyo Puyo, I find that the game tends to speed up in enormous jumps. You'll be poking along, perfectly manageable, and then suddenly it's almost hard dropping Puyos as soon as they appear. It's not completely unmanageable, you just have to be playing the next piece while your current one is slotting into place. This game offers 4 levels of Puyo Puyo, and increasing the level increases the number of colors that could drop. One thing in endless mode that has been removed from later Puyo Puyos are the random special effects that can eliminate large number of pieces. The big Puyo is a 2x2 Puyo that crushes whatever it lands on, leaving you with a 2 across hole in whatever you had there. The carbuncle is a little guy who, when he touches your stack, will start eating a path through it, turning all of the Puyos it touches into the color of the first Puyo it touched. So you'll likely wipe out a huge chunk of your pile, but what you lose is random. You can also turn off these special pieces so you don't have to play with them. Besides endless mode, there's mission mode, where you're given a task to do on every level. Perform a combo of a certain size, eliminate the clear Puyos, that kind of thing. And then there's the 2-player battle mode. In 2-player mode, clearing a group of Puyos can send over a clear Puyo to your opponent's side. Clearing a lot of Puyos, or a chain of them, will send a lot of clear Puyos over. In fact, it's a bit of a multiplicative effect. You get rid of clear Puyos by getting rid of other Puyos next to them. So if you play for small things, you can harass your opponent, but if you get a big chain, you can bury them alive. This mode becomes the heart of the Puyo Puyo series, though they will have AI opponents going forward. One thing you can do in this Famicom Disk System version is select the graphics. You can change the pictures from Puyos to people, but I really think you want to keep it at Puyos. As the origin point for an enormously popular series, Puyo Puyo has a pretty good reputation. But it is one of those situations where people will go, yeah, that's good, and then play one of the dozens of sequels rather than the original. And that's really where I fall myself. If this game existed in a vacuum, then it'd be a really impressive puzzle game with a great battle mode. But it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Puyo Puyo took off, and it became so popular that this Disk System version got a cartridge release well after Puyo Puyo 2 was a hit. This is the kind of game that's historically significant. You'll play it and go, oh, here's where it all began. And then you'll move on because of all of the improvements that followed.